visit all the places nobody goes. I wanna teach all the things that nobody knows. I wanna grow wings, leave the coop, learn to fly. Bungee jump from the tallest building in Dubai. I wanna fly around town in my UFO. I wanna eat real food, not the GMOs. I wanna make moves, call the shots like the boss. I wanna love like I never lost.
Thank you for joining us here today on Desertwood Days. I am your host, Kathy Blaze, and today I am here with the talented Brenda Jean Foley. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathy.
Such a pleasure, such a pleasure. I wanted to share you with our audience today because I know you're doing so much in the community in theater.
Mm-hmm.
You have a company called the Bridge Initiative, which are you the founder?
I am the co-founder, yes, and now sole producing artistic director. Yeah,
Awesome.
My co-founder actually moved back to the East Coast, so I'm the one in charge now.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And I've known you for quite a while, and
You were at our launch.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And I know you've always been a go-getter in the theater industry. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But first, I want to talk about how did Brenda get started in theater?
Okay, well, I actually got started in dance. My father was in the Foreign Service. He was in the State Department, so we moved a lot when I was a kid. And I think like the thing that was a constant for me was I could go in wherever we lived, I could go into a ballet class and like I knew what a plie was. Like even if I didn't speak the language, I could speak the language of dance. And then from there, I started with choirs and church and stuff and singing. And it wasn't until high school that like I put the dance and the singing together into musical theater, which is how in college, I went to college for musical theater. And then from there, I branched more into sort of like what we call straight theater, which is like without the music.
Sure.
But yeah, it was kind of like, that's what I do most of now is just the acting.
Theater.
Yeah, but it's sort of like branched that way.
Do you miss the musical theater?
I do, and actually I've returned to it a little bit more this year. So yeah, and I do it every once in a while, but I don't have as many opportunities to be honest.
Wonderful.
But yeah, I do love it. I really love it.
I did one musical theater. Actually, I did two. And it is funny, my first one was Rebel Without a Cause. We had some music in that.
Oh, very cool.
And I met some of the theater actors you probably worked with, and we've remained friends that's one thing. I know film actors are close or remain friends, but theater actors are really close. I mean, it's just a different type of bond, I believe.
Well, I think part of it is that, because I do both, and the thing with film is it's so short and compressed and it's intense.
Right.
But in theater, like you're in rehearsals for all this time, and then you also usually, like if it's a professional job, you're in a run for like months, if not like years. So you spend a lot of time with these people.
Right. So I do love a little bit about music. I'm not that huge on musicals, but I love a little bit of music in there.
Yeah, I love it too.
So you were a ballet dancer.
Mm-hmm.
So was there anyone that inspired that, or were you just always, did your parents just put you in dance class?
No, so apparently the story is that I was 2 years old, like 2.5 years old, and it was Christmas time. And my mother had turned on the television, and there was the Balanchine version of the Nutcracker on with Mikhail Baryshnikov. And she said, I was the kind of child that was like always going. And she said, you stood in front of that television for the full 2.5 hours. She's like,
Wow.
You never, ever had that kind of focus, and watched it and then begged for ballet lessons.
Oh.
So she started me in what was called Dolly Dingle Ballet School, like in a strip mall in Virginia when I was like 3.
Well, she knew how to entertain you then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Children are so amazing.
Right?
It is. You pretty much know where a child is going from that stage in their life.
Well, and if you listen to them, right, I think a lot of people try to go like, this is what you're going to do. And, like you said, did your parents push you into? But no, like if you watch the child and listen to them, that's, like with my child, I try and stay out of the way and just say like, you guide me.
And that is so true. And I believe that as adults, we forget that because, as you stated, we've been pushed in certain ways. This is what you should do because you need to make money as an adult. Okay, you may be passionate about dancing, but you can't make money dancing, so you better go and do this over
My friend,
here.
you speak the truth.
Yes. So you started a foundation, a program called the Bridge Initiative. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the Bridge Initiative is a nonprofit. We founded it, we got the nonprofit status about a week before the fundraiser that you helped us with in 2016. Kathy was on our stage. So we launched it. My co-founder came to me back in 2014 and said, we both had come from New York City, and she was associated with the Women's Project in New York. And she was just looking at the landscape of theaters in the Valley, and she said, there's not a lot of leadership that is women. There's not a lot of plays written by women, not a lot of women directors. There's a few women on stage, certainly, but the people behind the scenes making the decisions, directing things, were not, for the most part, female. And so it felt like there was this gap. And so my friend Tracy said, would you be interested in going in with me on a seed funding grant to see if we can launch something? And so that's what started. We got this grant. We did a little thing, and everybody said, yes, more, please. And so then we got our nonprofit, which is when you joined us for that fundraiser. But so our goal initially, we were called the Bridge Initiative Women in Theater. And over the years, we've sort of, the more you sort of go, let's amplify one underrepresented voice, you start doing the survey of the landscape and going, there's a lot of underrepresented voices, right? And certainly one of the ones that we have been associating with more is like gender non-binary, non-conforming trans artists. And so the women in theater was alienating for a lot of those folks. And so we've dropped women in theater, and we've sort of redone our vision statement. And we say that we're amplifying the voices of all professional artists of historically marginalized communities. So we work with people of color, we work with people who are with disabilities. Ageism is a very real thing in our industry. So,
That's very true. That is very true. And I'm going to get to that question later, because that's one of the questions I like to ask women. I call us mature women in the filmmaking and theater industry. But I'll get to that question later. So since you changed the name, how has that changed the outcomes for the Bridge Initiative?
Well, this is brand new. So it's just been about 6 months, and it's all been in the pandemic that we've been transitioning in the last couple of years, but we'll see. I think that remains to be seen. Again, we say that we are representing underrepresented, historically underrepresented groups, but we say leading with gender. So we still are very focused on women and non-binary folks, and so gender is like our focus. But I think honestly from the beginning we had been focused that way. It's just now it's out front. The stuff we've produced has always been very with an eye to an expansive version of representation. So I really don't think honestly it's going to change very much. It's just more the public facing. Like now we're putting it in our mission statement. We're being very and to hold us accountable to it too.
Right. How often do you have events for the Bridge Initiative?
So we're piloting a new version. Like I've never been, I'm kind of a non-traditional kind of person, believe it or not. And so we've never had like a full season the way that a lot of theater companies do. And so at this point, our goal is to have one big fully produced play a year, which is be in January this year. And then we also have programming every month at the ASU Care Center, which is a smaller venue that was intended for music, actually, in Scottsdale. And there we do different kinds of events. We have a new event we're calling the Broadway Book Club, which we're having singers come, and then we're having conversations with them about, topical things and also their careers. And we're doing that every month. And then we're also just having like alternative programming on Sundays. So we have, two different programs every month, and then our big show in January this year.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Because that helps too to get out there in the community what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. So, and have the conversations and also to, have more people involved.
Right. And yes. And you know what? you hear a lot of people saying, I don't know where things are, or there's not enough to do here in Arizona, which in reality, there is so much here to do. There is so much needed support in the community with nonprofits such as yourself or other nonprofits or for-profit things that's happening here in Arizona. We just have to get the word out.
For sure. There's so much art happening, but yeah, people don't always find it.
Right.
So I appreciate what you're doing for that reason.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think it's because, a lot of us, we use social media to promote our things, but people get so overwhelmed with the content that's out there.
Oh.
So it's like you may post something to say your event is January, but after that, they get so much stuff.
For sure.
That is why it is so needed for platforms like this one and others to get your information out there. And you doing your monthly talks that you do also. It's very much needed.
Yeah, we kind of thought that way there could be, it's almost like appointment viewing on TV or something. It's like, okay, I know every month, it's the third Thursday of every month, I can go to the care, or the second Sunday. So that was our goal.
Awesome.
The pandemic honestly has been challenging. We haven't had the audiences that we would like, but we're at this point, in some ways it's good. We're figuring out what the programming is so that hopefully we'll be a little bit more out of this next year and we can, really continue off.
So with COVID, I like to ask, how were you guys able to survive and to have some continuity during that time?
I appreciate the question because obviously we're a live theater company, and so our goal is to gather the community in one space, and that was something that was impossible for a long, long time. We're still making baby steps out of it. So we decided to go virtual. I did it very quickly, actually. I was involved in a show that was supposed to open kind of the week of that everything shut down in March that year, and I was just acting in that. That was not a bridge show, but immediately I realized this isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And so, but we all were still hungry to be working.
Right.
And I also was producing a festival that was supposed to happen in March at Tempe Center for the Arts. And luckily the grantors came to me, the city of Tempe, and they said, we want you to keep the money if there's a way you can spend it. So I said, okay, that's great. We can't do this in-person festival, but instead we're going to do a play reading festival online. And so I was able to give artists who needed it, a little bit of money, a stipend, but every Sunday for 11 weeks, we got online together. We read a different play. We had a conversation. And it was, the interesting thing was that we've got donors because my life is kind of all over the country. So people that have been donating from different places were able to actually finally see the work.
Awesome.
Without living here.
Yes.
But most of our artists were, local people.
Sure.
So then they got a little bit of a national platform in a way.
Right.
And so, it was actually really lovely. And then everybody else started doing play readings. So I was like, okay, I'm done. Because I don't like to do what everybody else is doing.
Right.
So we
you got it started.
That's true. That's right. They all followed me. I like to think that. Thank you. No, but then we decided to try this new concept called quarantines. And our goal for that was to, instead of sort of having these talking heads on Zoom, which is what all these plays were becoming, we thought, if there are people who are in quarantine together, who are artists, what can they create? So we just kind of gave a challenge and said, hey, come up to people, again, all over the country, artists, friends of ours, and said, what can you come up with people that you are already in your quarantine bubble with? We're going to put together about an hour's worth of content. We, myself and my friend Marin McLean hosted it. And then we raised money for a charity, the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence.
Wonderful.
So we solicited donations, and it was wonderful. And we were
creativity is amazing. The things that people like you created out there during that time is amazing.
It was incredible what people came up with. Yeah, because we had everything from a Romeo and Juliet Shakespeare scene performed by people in their 60s to original music to clown performance. Each of the little segments was very different. It was really fun.
I don't want you to tell too much because I know you brought some media.
I did.
And let's take a look at that media.
Okay, great.
Quarantine. I'm Marin.
I'm Brenda.
Brenda!
What was that?
That was the God mic, honey.
Oh my God, it's been so long since I've been in the theater. We talked about this. We said evening wear.
Yeah, quarantine evening wear.
Standing by a fruit shop on the corner.
Good Lord.
Curious!
Customer complains.
Strange!
You never seem to show the
Dost thou love me? Oh, gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully.
Hey Vivian, do you want to play some Dungeons and Dragons?
We'll stumble and fall. I'm still learning to love, just starting to grow.
And if that dog named Rover falls down, you'll still be the prettiest, the most interesting, the most intelligent, funniest, smartest, cutest, silliest,
Most curious and best at doing your potty training today and doing such a good job going to the potty.
and best at looking at the camera, and best at dealing with the coronavirus in a time of crisis.
Which everyone is doing a great job. So
This has all made me miss theater just a tiny little bit less.
It's a good excuse to get into costume, right? We do want to leave you with a very sincere thanks.
And in this time of struggle and uncertainty, we hope we offered you a little bit of escape.
We may just try and pull off another one of these in a couple of months. Good night.
Don't we all just wanna be together?
That was awesome.
Thank you.
I have to say the babies were my
Oh.
favorite.
Of course. I mean, how do you, kids and dogs is the thing. Like, don't put a kid or a dog on stage with you. Nobody will look at anything other than them.
They were too cute. I enjoyed that. I don't see why anyone would. That was just very enjoyable.
Thank you. Yeah. And I mean, that was just like a highlight reel. Like the whole hour, you got to see each one of those pieces of Foley. It was really
Right.
fun. It was really fun.
I know it didn't, take away that urge from one to be on stage, but you were still working.
Yeah. And I was able to provide an outlet. And I think I was fortunate because we don't have a building, we don't have a staff. Like I don't have all these salaries, which a lot of theater companies, that was a huge challenge because they had no revenue coming in. So I had this grant funding and I was able to then redirect that directly to the artists because a lot of these other companies had to say, artists, please work for free. And we want to, use your labor to raise money for us, which is great. And there is that, but I was in the opposite situation. I was like, I can pay you a little bit to do your art.
Right.
So it was wonderful.
So are you able to tell our audience a little bit about what they can expect with the January event?
Yeah, so in January, we'll be at Tempe Center for the Arts for 2 weeks, from January 14th to the 22nd. We have 2 different events happening. One is a fully stage-produced play called A Feminine Ending, which is about a young woman basically finding her voice. She's in a relationship that is, we'll see if that lasts, and her mother also is trying to get out of the marriage with her father. So it's sort of these parallel, this younger woman and her mother, they're sort of coming into their own.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the other event that we're producing is a brand new workshop of a play called Just Be. That's by a local playwright called Maybe Stewart. And that play is Maybe's their actual story about coming to terms with their sexual and gender identity. So it's very raw. It's very new, and the idea is also to elicit audience stories. So there'll be some audience interaction, and we have 3 workshops of that brand new piece. So it's going to be very at the very cutting edge.
And that's going to be at Tempe Center of the Arts also.
Yeah, during that same 2-week period. So the nights that Feminine Ending isn't performing, or the matinee slots, we've kind of slotted them in. So we have 9 different performances: 6 Feminine Ending, 3 Just Be.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Where would you like to see the Bridge Initiative in 5 years?
Oh my gosh. I would love to see Bridge at a position where we could actually pay for some staff because, to be honest, the labor that is involved, I've been volunteering my time for the most part, and it's a lot. I'm spending a lot of time. So it would be great to be able to pay our staff, and I would love to be at a position where we're probably producing, instead of one a year, 3 full productions, continuing to develop new work, ideally with some local playwrights like maybe. And yeah, having like a very sort of established season, continuing our work at the Care, because we love them over there. It's spelled Kerr. It sounds like care, but Kerr. And yeah, just continuing a little bit on the same trajectory, but maybe in a slightly larger version.
You know what? It's just people don't realize how much of ourselves that we put into, how much time and unpaid hours that we put in on in these projects.
Uncompensated labor.
Right.
Yeah, and it's often women and people who are, again, historically marginalized who are the ones who are putting the time in. So yeah.
For the arts.
Yeah.
So where can our audience find you?
Okay, so we are at bridgeinit, BRIDGEINIT.org.
Okay, that's awesome.
And we're also on, the Bridge Initiative on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us too.
And what can our audience do to help the Bridge Initiative?
Come to our events. Yeah. Yes, we would love to see you. We've got lots of seats to fill, and we'd love to share our work that way. And if you have extra money that you'd love to donate, we, on our website, we have a donation page. But what matters the most to me is seeing smiling faces in that audience who would love to share our work.
It was such a pleasure having you here with us today.
It's my pleasure, Kathy.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us today here on Desertwood Days. I am your host, Kathy Blaze, and we'll catch you next time.